hard to coach someone that
What?
the hip hinge and how to squat properly?
Kind of hard.
It is kind of hard, yeah. You know, and like what it says there, movement patterns. Like you need to be able to move like that, but a lot of people can't. You know, so we've already looked at the posterior pelvic tilt, which is a big cause of pain down below, and also back pain and mid-back pain if you're jammed up like that. So we know that stuff, don't we? But coaching the hip hinge then is the other thing. And if you can coach both of those things, you can fix a lot of movement problems. Now, if you add that into, okay, that muscle is tight, so I'm going to, what do you want to do with that tight muscle? Maybe. Sometimes you need to release it, okay? But if you do release it, what do you need to do? Strengthen it somewhere else. And not to be whatever, but sometimes that tight muscle is the hero. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
It's doing all the work. So what do you need to do with other muscles? Strengthen. So that's why a lot of this rehab or this class actually turns out to be relevant enough for people because, like I said, things locking up and you for example, manipulating someone. Well, why is that tightening up so much? Generally, it feels it has to because it's lacking some stability. Okay, like so someone with really tight hip. Okay, and they don't have any internal rotation. Well, you have the things we would have spoken about before and have been covered in other classes. What might you do with someone like that? So think now. Someone really tight hip. Release the glutes. Maybe hip flexors. What else? Maybe very formalist. What else? What other techniques do you have? You know, the mulligan stuff? Yeah, that's really good. Get them up to do what? Do a movement. Why? So that it sticks a little bit. But on top of that, if you're really tight here and you ask, right, why is that tightening up so much? Why, after this conversation now, why might that be tightening up so much?
Instability somewhere.
Maybe instability somewhere else, the muscle's working too much. So oftentimes, if you can strengthen up, so you might go to here, for example, and strengthen this area, and if the body feels stability there, what might it do here? Ease off, yeah. That's a straightforward example. That's actually, you know, if you YouTube, you probably don't have this now, but there's a guy called Dean Somerset. And if you YouTube some of his stuff, you might find that. It's like a 10 or 11 minute clip where he gets this girl into a side plank, coaches in the side plank, and tests her hip from before and after. It doesn't touch her hip, but the fact that she gained that stability there, she then had a lot more movement in her hip afterwards. So, you know, it's not all going to work out perfectly like that, but just so you know, as well as releasing the muscle, you can release stability somewhere else. Okay, so hip hinge for the squat pattern. Who here likes to squat, is good at squatting, and who here isn't?
I don't squat.
Some of the girls are probably good at it, and some of the boys are probably not.
I have an anterior tilt, so I get stuck.
And do you get any little bit of back?
I have back issues, yeah. But I'm trying to correct it, but it's only when you said it today about setting a posterior and squatting, I tried it there and I actually get lower and better when I posteriorly rotate and squat.
Oh, God, yeah. So what type of work might you do? If for example, you have an anterior tilt, you said it yourself, why might you have an anterior tilt? Let's not worry about that. What would you do?
Pelvic.
Okay, so you do the motor control stuff, yeah, and I saw you're well able to do that. But what on top of that might she need to do?
Strengthen posterior chain.
Hamstrings, glutes.
Strengthen posterior chain stuff.
Posterior chain, yeah.
Lengthen quads. Release them.
What do you think?
Release hip flexors.
Let's here on the lower back, maybe.
Okay. So she is in anterior tilt. Okay? So what has happened here?
Short and short.
Okay, these can often tighten up. Okay? But oftentimes they're in that position there, and they have done that secondary to the other things that have caused that. Okay? There's an awful lot of, okay, my hip flexors tight, let's go and stretch the crap out of them. Whereas if you've been in anterior tilt there, okay, a lot of the time that has tightened up to do what to the front of your hip? To stabilise it and protect it. So what does that need? Instead of stretching? Strengthening. Okay, it needs some strengthening work as well. Okay? So for you, you obviously can cue that and you can get down into it, but you might also then do a little bit of maybe a movement exercise. You might find that, and I've been getting people to do this for years, by the way, to stretch their hip flexors lows. I'm sticking needles in there, it's really sore. I get them to redo it afterwards and they feel better. But what usually happens 2 or 3 weeks later?
It's back
There again. So then it changed because of this stuff with red and whatever. And now I would maybe loosen out iliacus, okay? And then get them to strengthen, basic strengthening of psoas. And then get far less anterior hip pain. So as well as strengthening the glutes, actually just strengthen all that area there. With the cues of, okay, you've coached them that, they're able to do that, and they go into their things there. So that's been a problem for you. Sorry, I don't think like that.
Everything's
But you
a
know what I
problem
mean? It has
for
been
me.
a problem.
Yeah.
But like, as in my point there is, it doesn't have to be a problem.
But then, the reason I suppose I never even tried to change it was because someone said to me, oh, well, if that's how you squat, you don't always have to have the ass to grass thing, that if it's just a hinge, as long as you're hinging at the hip and going down, it doesn't matter. But it always felt wrong, and even lately it's a pain in the ass. But when you just sit there, just changing that, it felt so different.
Yeah, like honestly, if